you, Tom, and thank you so much for joining us from Tales
Thanks,
of the
man.
Trails. If you don't mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself, what company you work for, and what your role is in that company.
Sure. So my name's Tom McSweeney, and I work for Financial Pacific Leasing, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Umpqua Bank. It was established back in the 70s, and we work for equipment financing for companies to get them the equipment that they need to do business. Currently, we manage a portfolio of about $2 billion in assets, and I am the Chief Technology Officer for the company, have been for almost 5 years.
Wow. So a part of our thesis is that every business and every organization has some mission that they're trying to deliver. Tell us a little bit more about Financial Pacific Leasing and what your mission is for humanity.
Yeah, okay, sure. So our mission, which is actually fresh off the press, is as a trusted partner, we want to do business the way our customers want to do it. And that's making financing equipment faster and easier. So we operate in a B2B space, and we accept applications from a variety of origination points, third parties, referrals, as well as equipment manufacturers and distributors. And so some of the systems that we used to process those deals were an out-of-the-box solution that really limited our mission to be able to do business the way our customers wanted to do it. And so Terry Jennings, the president of our company, he hired me to figure out how to replace our loan origination system with something that was more conducive to our mission.
When you were kind of talking about you being brought on, one of your president's first goal, I guess, was to bring you up to speed with everything. What system did you guys decide to go with? What was your thought process moving forward?
Yeah, that's a great question, because this is really my first gig in equipment financing. Till now in my career, I've mostly done medical and telecom technologies. And so coming into this, the initial several months meeting just the different stakeholders, and it was clear that a one-size-fits-all approach was not going to work. We needed a highly customized solution to fit our business, rather than what we'd always been trying to do, which was to fit our business into a closed system. Early on, it became clear, I think, that if we wanted to continue to offer the versatility and the customized service while we were adding new features like real-time reporting and bidirectional, that Salesforce was really our only choice.
So whenever you were looking at doing more research with Salesforce, did you reach out to other companies to seek advice, or did you just go through trial and error with other CRM systems that are out there?
Yes to both. We replaced an old system, but equipment leasing is surprisingly a very small niche type of business. And I was actually impressed because I had reached out to a number of companies, our competition, in fact, and just asked them, what are you doing? Found some that had gone with our first choice, which was not Salesforce. Found all of the dirty little secrets and pitfalls and was able to avoid them through their experience. But then really reached out to a company. At the time, it was called Tamarack, and they're now called North Tech. And they really helped guide us to the Salesforce solution that we ended up with.
Awesome. So I know that you had mentioned earlier that your mission statement was, we do business the way our customers want to do it. So it seems like that's a really important piece in your company, is that customer interaction. Were you able to just achieve that just only using Salesforce, or did you have to seek other products to achieve that?
Yeah, that's the great thing about Salesforce, is I'm able to bolt on a lot of different solutions just within the same framework. We've, like I said, built our base product on Salesforce, but then we were able to bolt on things like Conga to do our documentation. We were able to bolt on things like Xcali to do our telephony system. We were able to bolt on Compado to be able to do our testing and our robotics. Even within Salesforce, they have their own products like Tableau, which we bolted on to be able to take just the sheer amount of data. You can imagine 50 years of data that we were able to then put into data lakes and be able to do some analysis with that. Salesforce being our primary, but just the marketplace that's available, the app exchange is phenomenal.
That's great. I love to hear it. So I know that you also mentioned that your specific industry or equipment sales is unique and it has its own niche. So if you can take us through that implementation process of from when you started using Salesforce on to where you guys are now as a company and how you were able to customize it to really tailor what your needs are.
Yeah, it's been a very incremental process, and we've been building out the originations on the Salesforce framework for over the last 4 years. And so when we first built the app entry and adjudication process in Salesforce, we would then push the deal back into our legacy system so that they could do the docking. And then we produced our contracts, like I told you, from Conga from those approved deals. And then we pushed it back into the legacy system. So each time we just kept getting further down the road while still having the flexibility to push it back into our legacy system. And so just last month, we built out the auditing stage. So now we're able to fully process an application end. If we had done a big bang conversion, I'm pretty sure that's the sound I would have heard because it would have blown up. The complexity of what we've been doing, the nuance, just the frankly, what I call the yeah buts. We put out a piece of functionality and then we find from our users, yeah, but in this case, it has to do this. Yeah, but in this case, it has to do that. This year, we're actually incorporating all of our customer service and collections functions into the product. So now, by the end of the year, the entire company can service the customer through one single pane of glass. And really, that's been our goal.
Wow, that's amazing. So in 4 years, can we talk a little bit about how your team has been handling the switch? You came in, you brought everybody up to pretty much the 21st century. Are you guys still making changes, tweaks to your process? What does that look like for you?
Oh gosh, that's probably the best part of the whole story because there's been a lot to the implementation with just hurdles all along the way. So the first hurdle was just figuring out what our internal process was that had really evolved over decades. And included in those processes were manual functions, things that only a few people knew about. And so we had a lot of discovery. We offer a lot of flexibility with the way that we do business, but that leads to our caveats having caveats, or what I've called the yeah but. Salesforce provided us an opportunity to develop solutions using agile methodologies. And so we learned a ton really along the way. Just being able to do, like I explained, the different increments and the epics. Second hurdle was just overcoming the corporate inertia that we have. We've been successful, like I said, for almost 50 years, and that leads to a great deal of resistance in trying new approaches. Some of our staff have been with the company almost their entire career, and that spans over decades. But that leads to a group of experts and groupthink. And by combining the agility of our development with another concept that I brought to the table, which is a lean process of plan, do, check, adjust, we were able to experiment with new ideas and then either adopt or adapt them based on the efficacy measures going forward. I think the final hurdle was training. I had you mentioned an IT team that was really more aligned to service management than development lifecycle. They'd never done an enterprise-wide initiative like this before, let alone very few of them even had experience, including myself, with Salesforce. So we dug deeply into Trailhead. Can't tell you enough about that platform. It was fantastic. So months before we even started implementation, we were all taking courses, getting badges, and really learning how this thing worked. We also purchased our own enablement site so that we can create walkthroughs and FinPack specific modules to train all of our users depending on what screen they're on, what their role is. And we've even created content to incorporate some of our HR curriculum, like mission and values and our standard way of interviewing as we continue to grow. None of that innovation, I don't think, would have been possible without Salesforce and all the flexibility that platform really provides us.
Wow, I think that's great. You don't really hear as often as you see a company doing a lot of that prep work beforehand. And so I know that a lot of people just implement Salesforce and they're not really sure what to expect. And they think it's more of out of the box system, but it's absolutely not. It's super customizable. It's specific to what you and your company needs. And I think that's so great that you guys really hit the ground running and trying to do your research. And I have a feeling that your implementation process, although you were talking about having your staff, be a little more resistant because of they're kind of more set in their ways, I feel like yours probably went a little bit smoother than some other companies out there because you guys did so much prep work. So I think that's pretty
That
great.
and being able to show immediate successes, like knowing our customers is a big part of our success. And during the initial stages of COVID, we had thousands of customers that were requesting payment deferrals while their quote non-essential businesses were closed on them. And so taking those requests manually was just not feasible. So right in the middle of implementation, because this would have completely overwhelmed our customer service department, we decided to create an online portal using some of the stuff we had learned from Salesforce to capture those requests. And the cool thing was we didn't even stop there. So prior to getting to the request screen, we also embedded like a short survey just to understand our customers' positions. How long had they been closed? Were they still able to do some augmented type of business? Because we're in all 50 states. Was their governor telling them about the duration of the circumstances that they found themselves in? And had they actually received any assistance like PPP funding that a lot of the companies were getting? So this information gave us just a much greater insight into the health and concerns of our customers. So we even gave them ability to just freeform type in, how's it going? We care obviously about you and how's it going? And that helped us to really figure out how much relief we were able to then provide. So again, I feel like a Salesforce commercial, but by using Salesforce to stand this solution up, we were able to go from conception to inception in a matter of weeks, wow. Just a few weeks. And so it was just to show those kinds of successes really helped, I think, to turn people's thought process.
That's great. So I have to ask now, what is next for FinPack? What are you guys looking to accomplish over the next 12 months or the next 5 years? What are you guys going to do?
We're just going to continue to innovate. Like the latter half of our mission statement says, we want to make equipment financing faster and easier. Side note, did you know that about the same year that our company was incorporated, I think 1975, Kodak came up with the first digital camera?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, because they decided not to pursue it because they thought it would threaten their lucrative film business. So within a few years, Canon and Sony developed their own digital cameras and actually drove Kodak's film market share into bankruptcy. Wow. So with our ability to analyze our performance and incorporating, like I said, Tableau solution, we're never going to run out of ways to improve our customer experience. And so as the CTO, I've made a promise to the company, we're going to continue to improve our process lest we end up left behind and experience our own Kodak moment. So when JFK back in the 60s said, we're going to send a man to the moon and bring him back safely within the end of the decade, I just did that, not in the same accent because I'm from Philly and he was from Boston, but it's wicked hardcore. But we actually just established our own moonshot. And that is to process just our most routine applications with absolutely no touch in just a matter of minutes rather than weeks. And so some of the deals where we have, I don't know, return customers that'll be financing a second piece of equipment. All right, so we already know who they are. We have a relationship with them. We know their ability to pay. We know their full credit history. So our idea is to take another application from that customer, seamlessly run it through our multifaceted adjudication process that we've really fancily developed. And then if they're approved, automatically send them out the electronic documents for them to sign using Conga, automatically audit those documents for accuracy and completeness, and then to issue a payment request to the vendor for their new equipment in just a few minutes and not weeks. So there's a lot, obviously, that goes into that. That's why I'm calling it our moonshot. But we're pretty confident that we can accomplish that through our current framework, probably within the next 3 to 5 years. And so I think that sets FinPack head and shoulders really above our competition, gives us that edge that we need.
And I agree with you. And I also think that your edge is that you guys really care for your customer. You guys went through leaps and bounds just to make sure that you can communicate with them through a pandemic and see what their needs really are and configure that in your system and making sure that they're getting what they need. And to disagree with you slightly, I think that's really what sets you guys apart from anything else. So I think that's really great.
It is about the relationships.
Absolutely. So I have one last question for you. What advice would you give someone who's not currently on Salesforce and is looking to grow their business and help their customers?
Jump in with both feet. First, like I said, take advantage of Trailhead. Even before you become a Salesforce customer, they allow you to take all of their courses. That kind of sets you up for what's possible. And then incrementally put together those solutions. You're not going to get it all in one fell swoop. I think anybody that does big bang deployments is foolish. I also strongly recommend Agile because you don't know everything when you start. In fact, some of our execs tease me. They're like, wouldn't it have been better if you had just really studied all of the problems that we were having and then a year and a half later start this process? And I said, no, because we'd still be doing that and we wouldn't have where we are today. Get started sooner than later, adapt, be willing. When I talked to my boss about this project, I said, you got to understand, we're going to break things. It's just going to happen. But I promise you that we'll fail fast. And we did. Take that risk, take calculated risk. Don't repeat the same problems that you had, the same mistakes, but don't be afraid to get started today and find a good partner that you can really bounce ideas off of. Companies like yours, I've been reading about you, that can really help with implementation. And even Salesforce, I have a guy at Salesforce, Sven, and every 3 or 4 months, I'm like, hey, I'm having this problem. Give me some ideas. And in fact, we're meeting tomorrow to really talk about Einstein OCR and how we can use that for our documentation. Yeah, you can't get started too soon, would be my advice.
I love it. Thank you so much, Tom, for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time to get on here. And I look forward to hopefully getting another call with you in the next 3 to 5 years to see once you hit your moonshot, right?
Yeah, we will not do it because it is easy, but because it is hard.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Well, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kat. Good talking to you. Take care.